what they did or did not do. God doesn't take any excuses. Oh, I gotta get going here. Verse 15. But as he which hath called you is holy, so be you holy in all manner of conversation. And that manner of conversation is everything about you, your walk as well as your talk. And then in verse 16, because it is written, be you holy, for I am holy. That is found in Leviticus chapter 11 and in chapter 20. Can we be as holy as God? No. But we can constantly be seeking and living and working to be more holy like Him. Because we sin is no reason to give up. You don't try to live your life so you don't say or do what God doesn't want you. That's a mistake. I heard people tell me that, preacher, I'm going to try to not say or do the things God wouldn't want me to say or do. That's a mistake. That's not what Peter said, do. Because you'll fail. Instead, he says you try to live your life so those things are not there for you to say or do. Don't try to think about not saying or doing. Sometimes people say something and say, "Ooh, preacher." Like my hearing made a difference. My hearing didn't make a bit of difference. God's already heard it. A lot of times the word's not that bad. They just think it is. I'm going to close with a little story. When I was in the military, I was a country bumpkin from Calhoun, Georgia. Gordon County, on the farm in the country. I had not even learned how to speak like the teacher told me to speak. But I went in the military and I went in the Air Force and I spent, I think it was about 6, 7 months or 8 months before I got to come home the first time. I 8 or 9 somewhere in there, a good while. But in the military, at least in the Air Force, at that point where I was stationed, they had kind of a little vile saying they'd have when something worked, or when you did something right, or you understood something. They had a little phrase that they used, and it was a little vile, and something, I wouldn't want to be caught saying in church. So I came home on leave. But I heard it all the time. It's always a good thing, but it's a vile way of saying it. And we was at church one day, I was home on leave, and we was all out there at Pleasant Valley Baptist Church out in the country, but it was fun. And they were talking about us how to do something, and I threw a little bit of in there, and they said, that doesn't work. And I said, yeah, if you do that, and I used that phrase. They all looked at me. Boy, you know where you are? I've never said that phrase again. Why? Because I made sure that no matter what comes up, that doesn't. I don't have to. When Perry called me and told me he got him a deer, I didn't say, Perry, you, blank, blank. I said, Perry, that's great. I know you wanted one. I'm glad you got one. That phrase wasn't even here. I did not even remember that phrase until I carried up in the study this morning. I said, what's a good example of that? Oh, I know a good example of that. That's what Peter is saying. He's saying that not try to think about what not to say or what not to do. Think about what you should say or what you should do so that you don't have those slips of the tongue. Well, I may still have one once in a while, but I won't have that one. I won't have that one. And you may not get rid of all your little sins, but you can get rid of most of them if you'll just start thinking and say, Lord, teach me how to express myself and explain myself without using these little worldly terminologies in me. Sometimes I get real upset on Facebook. when I see young people saying things, saying the words that substitute for other words. You know, we still kind of teach young people that when you're in church or school or, you know, around the good people, you don't say certain words. So they've got new made-up words for all those words. And we clap our hands when they use it because they didn't say the dirty word. But let me tell you something. If it starts with F, it's still the same word. If it starts with F, it's still the same word. And if it starts with H, it's still the same word. And if it starts with D, it's still the same word. And if it starts with GD, it's still the same word. It doesn't matter what cute little things and all these icons and everything. It doesn't matter what young people and these fools trying to lead young people astray comes up with. The word still means what it always meant.
That's right.
And you young people need to remember that when you do your posting. If it starts with F, you might want to find a different word. Because it hurts my heart when I see some of these things. And I know you don't mean a thing by it. You don't mean one thing bad by it. But let me tell you, that old world knows what you mean. That old world knows what you mean. And when you're that boy or girl that goes to church, and you use that word, then that boy or girl who does not go to church says, see, they're no different than me. That's what Peter said. Come out and be a little separate from the world. Let it come. I would come to the piano. I want to ask you this morning, and I don't know if I meant to, but I did warn the girls about that I do get long-winded sometimes. But let me ask you this morning. What have you heard in this message? What have you heard? Oh, I could have spent an hour and a half, 2 hours on that. And there's probably 100 ways I could have said the things I've said. But I really believe because of where I grew up and how I grew up and where I lived and where I now live and where I love to be, that most of y'all, you understand what I mean and what I say. I may put Daniel in the whale sometimes. I may place Peter, Paul, and John in the lion's den or in the fiery furnace. But that's just me. I really don't do it on purpose. My wife tells me I do it because I'm thinking 2 sentences ahead of what I want to say. I keep telling her I'm not smart enough to do that. She says, I know, that's why you make mistakes. No, she says, yes, you are. And I said, no, I'm not. Yes, you are. She said, every sentence you say in that pulpit, you're thinking a sentence ahead or 2 sentences ahead. And that's why you get those crossed up sometimes. But I hope that you've heard this morning in this message that Peter, that great preacher of Pentecost, is saying to us that it's not easy. It's not easy if you've been in or around a different world than that of the church or that of a Christian. It's not easy. Or if you've just been around where something is said or done and it starts becoming the normal. And that's the problem. When sin becomes the normal, we've got a problem. And it burns like a wildfire across the land. But I hope you've heard that when God says that He'll be with us and He'll be in us in all things, that there's another thing that's said by God all through His Word is we have to do our part. God won't do it for us, but He will do it with us. And I'm afraid too many Christians today are calling on God to do something and they're not doing their part. Oh, how I prayed this morning when I picked up those two beautiful little girls on that land. The brother couldn't come because he got bit by a dog in the mouth. He'll be here next week. The little boy, he'll be in the Tammy's class. But I prayed driving there. I said, Lord, I'm only going to pick up 3. I only picked up 2. But I said, I looked at those seats. And I said, Lord, do it again. Fill this van from this community. Let this van be a sign as it drives through this community. That van represents a people who love God and loves the people of this community. And we want their children to come and learn the things of God and about the real Jesus Christ. And then, if we get those children, we're going to pray with all our heart and mind. Those parents are sort of coming. Oh, I smiled when I told that lady this morning. Oh, this stand used to be packed out. Even violated laws. Sometimes one would have to stand. They're sitting the floor. And I said, but a lot of those children, parents have started coming. And they've got it right now. I think that'll happen again. If we'll pick up a van load of those children, bring them, it won't be long where their rides will start coming with them. Some of them, not all of them. Some of those children moved. Some of them have just kind of blended in. I don't know what's happening in their lives. But I still love them. And I still wish they were here. I wish that little chubby boy with those new glasses was here. We all loved him, didn't we? That boy loved to sing the gospel. And all the others. But as hard as we work, that old dirty devil is working hard too. He's trying his best to keep these kids out of this church. Oh, he won't worry about it if they take them down to play ball or something, or to a concert. But he doesn't want these children, these young people, to come to a church where the word is the truth. Because the one thing that will defeat Satan is this word.
That's right.
Well, preacher, where do you get that from Jesus Christ?
That's right.
He went out in the wilderness after his baptism to be tempted just like we were. Every one of us, after we were baptized, we went in the wilderness and the devil started tempting us, every one of us. And every time the devil would tempt him, what did he do? He went to the Word. He didn't say, I'm God, get away from me. He said, the Word says. The Word says. The Word says. You stand with me now. I'm going to take a moment. If you've heard something this morning that makes you think I need to make a decision in my life, whatever it is, come down and make it. Don't make it to me. Make it to God. Come down to His altar and say, I want to make this decision. If it's something you need to share with me, fine, share it with me. I'll be happy to. But while she plays, if you need to make a decision this morning of any kind, come on and do that right now. Got a little longer than I had intended it to be. But God usually honors my prayer. Sometimes I get in the way, you know. But when I sit there and pray, Lord, let the Holy Spirit preach it, not me. A lot of times God does that, and I feel like He did that this morning. There's some good things ahead rest of this first chapter, I've been working on it. Oh my, I get to shouting there in the study. All some good stuff before we get to chapter 2. And believe me, when we get to chapter 2, we're going to need this good stuff. He doesn't pull any punches. Don't forget we have Bible study at 5 o'clock across the street in Fellowship Hall. And continue to pray for these. Pray for this family. This family that's lost a member. It has a very critically ill member in the hospital.